The first thing Officer Miller noticed was the smell, not of blood or decay, but of lemon-scented polish, so sharp and clean it stung the inside of his nose. The foyer of 2147 Crestview Lane was a study in suburban perfection. A gleaming oak floor, a tasteful console table with a single ceramic vase, and a staircase that swept upwards in a graceful curve. It was all so pristine, so ordered, that the body at the foot of the stairs seemed less like a tragedy, and more like a deliberate, obscene piece of installation art. Arthur Braithwaite lay on his back, his neck twisted at an angle that was fundamentally wrong, his eyes open and fixed on the crystal chandelier above. He was dressed in silk pajamas, and a single slipper had come off, resting a few feet away. There was no visible blood, no sign of a struggle, no overturned furniture. It was as if he had simply tripped and fallen, a tragic but explainable accident in a millionaire's home. But the smell of lemons couldn't mask the faint, coppery temps of voided bowels, and the absolute stillness of the house felt less like peace and more like a held breath. Detective Inspector Eva Rostova arrived as the sun was beginning to set, casting long, accusing shadows across the manicured lawn. She was a woman built of sharp angles and quiet observation, her mind already dissecting the scene before she'd even stepped out of her car. The uniformed officers had secured the perimeter, the flash of their cameras popping in the twilight of the grand living room. The medical examiner, a weary man named Dr. Sharma, was kneeling by the body. "On first glance, it's consistent with a fall," he said, his voice a low rumble. "Cervical fracture. Could have been instant." Eva's eyes, however, were scanning the edges of the room, the dust-free surfaces, the perfectly aligned books on the shelves. "A man this rich doesn't polish his own floors. David, where's the housekeeper? Where's the wife?" A young forensics technician, her hands encased in blue latex, approached holding a small evidence bag. "Ma'am, we found this caught in the fibers of the hall rug." Inside the bag was a single, tiny shard of plastic, translucent and curved, no larger than a fingernail. It looked like a piece from a child's toy, utterly out of place in this temple of adult opulence. The alibis, like the house, were perfectly arranged. Elena Braithwaite, Arthur's wife, 20 years his junior, had been at a charity gala in the city, a fact confirmed by dozens of witnesses and a stack of photographs showing her in a sequined gown, holding a champagne flute, her smile not quite reaching her haunted eyes. When interviewed at the station, she was a portrait of controlled grief, dabbing at dry eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. "Arthur was meticulous," she said, her voice a fragile whisper. "He would never have been careless on the stairs. He had a slight vertigo. He was always so careful." Her composure was a fortress, but Eva saw the tremor in her hand as she reached for a glass of water. The live-in housekeeper, Maria Flores, had been visiting her sister in a neighboring town, her alibi equally solid. She spoke of Mr. Braithwaite with a respectful distance. He was a quiet man. He liked things a certain way, very specific. The only other person with regular access was Liam Croft, Arthur's business partner. He was a man of booming confidence, his grief manifesting as anger. "This is a damn shame," he barked, sitting across from Eva in the interrogation room. "RT was the brains. I'm the muscle. Who's going to run the company now? This is a nightmare." He had been at a late-night business dinner, then alone in his apartment. No witnesses for the critical hours. 4 days. The investigation stalled. The preliminary autopsy confirmed the broken neck, but also revealed a minute, almost invisible contusion on the back of Arthur's scalp. A bruise that Dr. Sharma now admitted was inconsistent with the angle of the fall. "It's like he was struck with something small and hard just before he fell," he mused in Eva's office, the whiteboard behind them a spider web of names, times, and question marks. The shard of plastic was identified as a fragment of a high-density polymer, commonly used in high-end, custom-fitted hearing aids. Arthur Braithwaite. Arthur Braithwaite, however, had had perfect hearing. The break came from a financial forensic analyst, a pale man who spent his days in a windowless room staring at spreadsheets. "Detective Rostova," he said over the phone, his voice crackling with excitement. The Braithwaite Croft Company is a beautifully constructed house of cards. They are months, maybe weeks, from total insolvency. But there's more. 6 weeks ago, Arthur Braithwaite took out a massive life insurance policy. $5 million. The beneficiary is his wife, Elena. The pieces, once scattered and meaningless, began to click into a terrifying mosaic. Elena's perfect alibi now felt like a carefully staged performance. Liam's concern for the company sounded like a cover for his own desperation. Eva obtained a warrant for Elena's financial records and a second, more invasive search of the Braithwaite home. In a locked drawer in Liam Croft's Ome office, buried beneath legitimate contracts, they found a receipt for a $15,000 cash withdrawal dated 2 days before the murder. The money was never accounted for. Meanwhile, in Elena's private, hidden bank account, her husband likely knew nothing about. Investigators found a series of smaller, regular deposits, adding up to almost the same amount. She was being paid. The key, however, was the plastic shard. Re-interviewing Maria Flores, Eva showed her the evidence bag. The housekeeper's face, previously a mask of stoic service, crumpled. "He made me wear it," she whispered, tears finally breaking through. "Mr. Croft, he gave me a small device, an earpiece. He said he would tell me what to do, what to say. I needed the money. My son, he is sick." She described a chilling sequence, hiding in a closet near the foyer, waiting for Arthur to come downstairs for his nightly tea. On Liam's command, whispered through the earpiece, she was to play a specific, high-frequency sound from a small speaker, a sound designed to be disorienting to someone with mild vertigo. The plan was for Arthur to stumble, to fall. The bruise on the back of his head, Maria, in a panic, had confessed to lightly tapping him with the heavy, rubber-coated flashlight she was carrying to see in the dark closet, hoping to stun him and make the fall seem more accidental. The earpiece had shattered under her foot as she fled in a blind panic after the sickening crack of his neck echoed in the silent house. The arrest was a quiet, anticlimactic affair. They took Liam Croft at his gym, mid-workout, his face a thundercloud of denial that quickly faded into a cold, calculating silence. Elena Braithwaite was arrested at a boutique, purchasing a black dress for her husband's funeral. She didn't scream or cry. She simply went pale, her perfect world dissolving around her, and asked for her lawyer. The interrogation room became a theater of blame. Liam, with his lawyer present, sneered at Eva. "You have nothing. A desperate housekeeper's story and a piece of plastic. Elena couldn't plan her own lunch. This was her idea." Sakametome said she was tired of being his trophy, tired of his control. The insurance money was her prize, and Jesse provided the logistics. In the adjacent room, Elena, looking small and breakable, gave a different version. "Liam told me the company was failing, that we would lose everything. He said it was the only way. He planned everything. He said it would look like an accident. He promised me it would be painless." They had turned on each other, their long game of murder collapsing under the weight of self-preservation. The trial was a media sensation, a slow, meticulous dissection of the perfect crime that wasn't. The prosecution laid out their case like a master craftsman. The financial ruin, the life insurance policy, the damning financial trail linking Liam's cash to Elena's account, but the most powerful moment came when Maria Flores took the stand. She described the terror of hiding in the closet, the whisper in her ear, the feel of Arthur Braithwaite's body hitting the floor. "I heard the sound," she sobbed. "The sound of breaking. And then Mr. Croft, in my ear, he just said, 'Clean it up,' and the line went dead." The defense attorneys tried to pick her apart, painting her as a liar and a desperate immigrant, but her testimony had the unvarnished ring of truth. The climax was the presentation of the reconstructed earpiece and speaker, a facsimile created by the forensics team. When the prosecutor demonstrated the high-piercing tone in the silent courtroom, it was a visceral, horrifying sound, the ghost of the weapon that had killed Arthur Braithwaite as surely as a bullet. The jury was out for less than 6 hours. The verdicts were unanimous on all counts. guilty of murder in the first degree for both Liam Croft and Elena Braithwaite. As the judge pronounced the sentence life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, Elena finally broke, collapsing into racking sobs, the facade of the grieving widow shattered forever. Liam stood stoically, his jaw clenched, his eyes fixed on some distant point, the master of a ruined empire. In the gallery, Arthur's elderly sister wept quietly, a mix of relief and profound sorrow. Justice had been served, but it was a hollow, chilling victory. The case was closed. The players were behind bars, yet a disquieting feeling remained. It was the realization that the most dangerous monsters are not those who kill in a fit of passion, but those who approach it as a business proposition, who play the long game, polishing their plan until it shines, only to be undone by the smallest, most insignificant of things, a whisper, a moment of panic, and a single, silent shard of plastic on a perfectly clean floor.